Triple snap, we're back. Third video of the day. I had a crazy realization. And I'm also going to answer the question. Sometimes people are like, could you ever live in Japan? But I was just walking right now, sulking, melancholy, extremely bitter about how this trip has gone. But you know what I realized? I was thinking, have I actually achieved some of my goals in life, right? And I was like, you know what? From a weird perspective, I've kind of achieved a lot of goals in my life, actually. You know what I mean? And what I get is, okay, so first of all, the video game stuff, right? Again, video game stuff, not financially successful, but I never knew that I was good at video games in the first place. So that was not the main reason I played in video games, but I've talked about the Dragon Ball FighterZ thing. I did that just to prove that I was the best tech dude ever, the best at finding stuff in video games ever. And I pretty easily proved that. And all these years after, I did Strive. People said I'd be wrong about Strive, predicted how Strive was going to work to the point that I predicted how the announcers were even going to call the game, which they did. Street Fighter 6, look what happened, right? Everything after Dragon Ball, it's just like, all this has just been like an exclamation point on it. But the point is, I realized, through video games, Dragon Ball FighterZ, I came back to doing tech stuff just to prove that I was the best ever, from all this stuff. And I was thinking, okay, so technically, I've achieved that, right? Again, not financially successful, but I've achieved it to the point that people have hated on me about it, right? Well, what a stamp of the certification of authenticity that people have tried to say that it's fake I've done so much in video games, or that I cheated. So I've succeeded. That's a goal that I set out to do, and I succeeded. And then I was thinking about as well, and this is why I was thinking about this video specifically, which is actually kind of sad, to be honest, but I was thinking, man, I'm old. I've been around a long time now. But, growing up unpopular and everything, I've said one of the reasons that I am the way that I am, you know what I mean? You grow up, you want a nerd, and a lot of times you see this sort of fake ideal hero as well of what you think people like, right? And I wanted to be cool. And I don't know if I've achieved the cool part, okay? I don't know if I've actually achieved the cool part. Some people, for better or worse, think I'm cool, but, I wouldn't say I've achieved that part. But I think one of the ideals of being a hero and being a good person is always doing the right thing, right? And morally, I'm thinking about it, man, I've always been a super morally kind of just person. You know what I mean? And again, I use it because it's just such a great example. Even when I'm in and out of the hospital, and it was right after I couldn't walk, you know what I mean? When I should have been, I was at my most popular, people were stealing my pictures all over the place. My fakes were becoming more famous than me. Maybe through insecurity, you know what I mean? That I didn't take advantage of it. But at the same time, it is true that I still dedicated my free time to helping people. And I've told that, story of me and the homeless guy in the bathroom so many times because it really sticks out in my mind because it was just like, oh my God, what am I doing, right? You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, though, even after that happened, I've had so many problems in my life, so many haters, you know what I mean? When I was a kid, I was too uncool, you know what I mean? And then to the point that, later on in life, I became quotation marks cool to some people, to the point that, people are stealing my pictures and people are lying about me. And I still have always been a morally super just person, right? And again, when I say the homeless thing, I was never out, searching for homeless people, but I was definitely, if I saw them, I was unfortunately wasting my time with them, maybe from a certain perspective. But that's still stuff I did. That's kind of that unfortunately is achieving my goal, so to speak, right? Even after, you think the video game stuff, I never shilled anything. I never did anything for money. You know what I mean? Like that, even now, that homeless guy story, that was, whatever. That had to have been over 5 or maybe almost 6 years ago. I don't remember, but even that was 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm still trying to be nice to people, even despite, like I said, constantly getting these crazy messages, even now. And I'm thinking, man, I am such a, and like I said, when I think about Japan, I don't think of, maybe there's a stereotype that sometimes people say that, Japan is very, a lot of nice people, but I would say Japan people are peaceful, not exactly nice, personally, once you actually are here for a while and see it. But what I'm getting at is I've realized, man, I've achieved the goal of being so nice that it's like fake. That people think, no, you can't really be that nice. Are you really nice? No, you got to be a bad guy. And that's a pretty good, like I said, so if you think about it from the video game wise, I've done so much in video games that people have tried to say that I faked it, or that, I lie about bullshit, whatever. Despite I've succeeded in being the best at a certain aspect of video games, despite people not wanting it to be true. Again, not financially successful, but that wasn't the main reason. And then I think about this sort of trying to make the world a better place. And in a way, I don't know, I'm sure some of these homeless guys are probably pretty happy, and some of these other people that I fucking helped, unfortunately, but I didn't benefit from it, besides maybe I don't know if you'd call it selfishness or side of me that I thought I was doing the right thing. If anything, it's made me feel miserable. And if you can feel miserable, absolutely miserable, to the point that it makes you feel terrible trying to make the world a better place because it only makes you feel worse, I would say that's a sacrifice, thinking about it. And I've been thinking about how I am constantly miserable about trying to make the world a better place, only to constantly hear about what an evil person I am. And so I was thinking, man, I've succeeded in being, one of my goals was to be, the best person I could be. And, I guess, maybe from a certain perspective I failed because I wanted to be able, especially when I was like dying in the hospital, I was like, I want to be able to die knowing that no one can ever say anything bad about me. You know what I mean? Which I guess that's probably not going to be true, but I mean, I can say it's true from they don't legitimately have any reason, that they're mad at me. I'm sure someone will probably make something up, but nothing legitimate. But, from certain perspectives, like, man, I succeeded in that goal of trying to make the world a better place for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, to the point it's been like a sacrifice. So what I'm getting at is, like, I've kind of succeeded a lot in life, and it hasn't made me very happy. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, whoa, I didn't realize, like, I guess that's kind of like the positive way to think about it. I was like, man, I've actually kind of succeeded a lot in life, despite the people not wanting me to succeed. You know what I mean? I think about those former friends, acquaintances that are now so mad, even though we've known each other for all these years, like, why do you get to go to Japan, blah, 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 that's not fair. You know what I mean? You're only good at video games and get a girl, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, what? Dude, we've known each other. Like, dude, I used to fucking pay for your gas money when I was working, and all you did was fucking play video games and go to school. Now you're fat. What the fuck? So now you hate me? Now none of this is real to you? Wow, it's like, wow, I've outlived all these people. I'm just spit. Like I said, I've been kind of sick, to be honest with you. Got a fucking sore throat now too. But yeah, I'm like, whoa, I've succeeded. And sometimes I say, like, sometimes I think there's actually a phrase, and it's not used for the stuff I'm talking about. It's more probably, the idea of, it's probably used in different, thought processes like, oh, once you achieve your goal, you feel like you realize your goal isn't what you wanted it to be. And I was thinking, whoa, I didn't realize I could actually say that phrase for me. You know what I mean? I could say, whoa, being the best person that I could be it's not what I wanted it to be. Video game wise, I don't think I've had video game wise, I guess it's not the same, because video game wise, I never, like I said, I never knew I was good at video games never knew I was good at video games or, did it for money. But I guess the people trying to make the world a better place, I didn't realize that it would make me that miserable that it's like, man, ugh. But, the video game thing is kind of like, okay, I'm so okay that I did the video game thing, but maybe the actual person part or people part is like, whoa, I feel like, man, this has ruined my entire life, right? So I just been thinking like, man, I need a new goal, because from a certain perspective, I actually have achieved my goals. Maybe I'm not that cool. I'm not cool in the way I wanted to be, but from a certain perspective of being the hero, I've kind of done what I've set out to do, right? You know what I mean? At least from a certain perspective, more so than anyone else. It's like, man, I can't, bro, it's like, Jesus Christ, I feel like I feel weird and bad. Like I said, like that last video I made, it's like, whoa, I'm weird for being this nice. This is not normal to be this nice to people, to be this kind. The fact that people think you're like fake, you know what I mean? And you must be doing it for something, even though I've never got it. I've never thought of anyone as an object or trying to use them. And I'm just like, I've been walking around right now, I'm like, man, I've been doing this for years and I've never tried to get anything out of anybody. Maybe it really just is that weird to be like that, to be that nice, right? So if I can think that, man, I've done it to the point that it's just like people think it's weird, like I must have achieved my goal to like such a ridiculous degree I didn't even realize it, actually, right? And I was kind of thinking, I wonder what my next goal in life is even. I wouldn't mind, this Japan trip has turned out kind of fucking shitty as well, unfortunately, because I was just actually in the bathroom getting sick again, unfortunately. That's this fucking trip, dude. Go great. Amazing. Can't fucking believe I've been this fucking sick stomach-wise, but what are you gonna do? That's my life. But, yeah. It's like, whoa, I've achieved my goals. So the next goal is like, man, I did always kind of want to be an artist when I was younger, but, of course, after surgery on your hands and everything like that, and my body doesn't work as good, but maybe I should try to get back into, maybe I should actually tell myself I need to take art seriously, or at least really try to practice art again. I don't know. I've been thinking I need a new goal, because if I think about it from a certain perspective, I've kind of actually achieved some of my goals in a weird way, It's kind of weird if I actually think about it like that. Anyway, other than that, some people are like, oh, do you think you could ever live in Japan? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm always like, well, I don't know how my health would be. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I don't know what health would be, or how I would get health care, how exactly that would work, getting medicine and that kind of stuff. But, I mean, the one thing health-wise I thought I don't worry about in Japan stomach-wise has not been the case this trip. But, something when people talk about, oh, I moved to Japan and I was lonely or something like that. Personally, for me, I've always been a lone wolf kind of dude. I don't mean that in a cool way. That's just how you would say it, a loner or whatever, right? I've never been like a follower. You know what I mean? So I've never really felt more lonely here in Japan, than other places. I'm disappointed, in people interactions just like anywhere, but I'm disappointed in, interactions I have in other countries too, so, but I don't feel like, some people are like, oh, I'm Japan, I felt so lonely. Like, from a certain perspective, I've always been my own dude anyway, so that doesn't really, people staying to themselves, from a certain perspective, if you think of Japan as like being really closed off, kind of people, but at the same time, people stay to themselves, like it's a group culture, whatever, society, hive mind kind of thing, but people also kind of stay to themselves. Like, so staying to myself doesn't really bother me. Doing my own thing, you know, people don't really bother you, whatever. I mean, I don't know. So I don't, that aspect of Japan has never bothered me when I'm here. Like, even here, I'm just walking around by myself. You know, I haven't really felt like talking to anybody today. You know, sometimes I go out and I talk to people, trying to be friendly, but today I've been too melancholy and bitter about everything. I'm just not in a good mood. You know what I mean? But, you know, so could I live in Japan? I don't know. You know what I mean? That's like, plus, you know, it's not fair from my perspective because most people, I'm sure if they were to move to Japan, they would have maybe like a, you know, quotation marks, real job, right? You know what I mean? So my perspective is like, I'm thinking about it from exactly my perspective with my health problems, etc. You know what I mean? Like I said, life for me in Japan is not that different than America whenever I'm here. I'm still fucking sick all the time. You know what I mean? Nothing is fucking different. You know, I still go for walks when I have the energy. You know, I'm always just kind of doing my own thing. So, you know, when people ask, would you ever like live in Japan or something like that? It's just kind of like that. You got to think about who you're asking the question, right? So that's kind of like the iffy part of there and why that's hard to answer, right? Anyway, remember if you like the videos, like, sub, silly comment, share, support the channel if you want. Appreciate it. Thanks. The end.